Jai 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 Radha Gopinath Gopinath. Jai Jai Radha Gopinath Gopinath. Jai Jai Radha Gopinath Gopinath. Shishira Gopinath Juki Shri Prabhupada Ki Gopinath. I need a little bit of help if we're going to do this today. Can everybody, like we did yesterday, can everybody come and sit on my lap? And it's like this close. All the way up here. Then it'll feel friendly. I'm a vegetarian, so don't be nervous. Come close. You got it. Okay. Go to the Lord Hanam Goranga Guru Chamago Pyara Kolpa Briksham Gopalagada Ratidam Yati Singha Gora Govinda Deshi Kavaram Satitam Namami Tanma Adama Kichuna Bachi La Chachi Adile Kakola Kahe Premananda Emona Goranga Hidoya Dari Kakola Raja Goranga Kaha Goranga Kaha Goranga Namare Bolo Raja Goranga Kaha Goranga Kaha Goranga Jai Jana Goranga Baje Say Hoy Amara Pranare Jai Jana Goranga Baje Say Hoy Amara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Yashaiva Vadambu Bhakti Labhya Prema Bhidhana Parama Pumarta Tismai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madhavir Api Gopala Sri Kuryat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidva Rishi Ustat Priya Jana Shri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunatha Brajavana Ahimam Vanchakopatarubhishcha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I want to thank everybody very much for coming. It's nice to see our friend Rojas over here also. So this is our second session that we're calling The Art and Heart of Vaishnava Sanga. So what is the heart of Vaishnava Sanga? It's a very difficult question. Anybody remember that? Yesterday? Yes? Krishna. But which Krishna? Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? Krishna, Dwarkadish Krishna? Matareshwar Krishna? Vrindavan Krishna? Which Krishna? Vrindavan Krishna. So the art and heart of Vaishnava Sangha, the heart of Vaishnava Sangha is Krishna. And we want a Vrindavan Sangha. So Srila Prabhupada once said that our purpose is to create Vrindavan villages. And that's not just something you do with mud and wood. But Vrindavan villages means creating a village of the heart. It means making a Vaishnava Sangha. That's the art of Vaishnava Sangha. Krishna is the heart, and the art of that are the devotees. So, if we say that Vrindavaneshwar Krishna is the heart of our Vaishnava Sangha, then what then is the art? What would you say? Vrindavan Krishna is the heart. What is the heart? What is the art? Anyone make a speculative guess? Huh? Playing with him. Okay. I would suggest that the art is we want to follow the residents of Vrindavan. We want to understand their art and worshiping Krishna. And what is their art? It manifests in many different ways, in the form of cooking. It manifests in the form of their singing, their dancing, their clothes they make for Krishna, the way they decorate Krishna, the way they decorate the kunjas. Everything in Vrindavan is art. Bhakti is art. Bhakti is the highest expression of art. What is art? That's a big question. Many philosophers for thousands of years have contemplated on that subject. I would suggest to you that art, in a simple definition, is an expression of the heart, which is manifest by the artist, by which he can communicate, he or she can communicate something, his message, to the people who appreciate, the listeners, in the case of music, or the appreciators, of the onlookers in the case of a painting, or the tasters in the case of cooking. That's art. So the highest expression of art is bhakti. By nature, art is something which shouldn't be imitated. You may have an art school, and with 1,000 students. Out of 1,000 students in the art school, if you're lucky, 2 may be artists. And you may get 998 craftsmen. And they may be expert craftsmen who learn how to make the painting round faces and nice features and make a person's expression. But to have art where you're expressing something from your heart through a particular medium, it's a very rare thing. Most people become craftspersons. Similarly, in our churches and temples in the world, 99% of the people that come out become religious persons. Maybe 1 or 2 become actual devotees who are actually able to express themselves through their heart. So that's our desire. So, what then is Braj Bhajan? Because in Vrindavan, everything is art. Shri Akanta Kanta Paramapareshi. Every step is an art. Every word is an art. Everything is an expression of the devotion to Krishna. So, what is the art of the Brijbasis? We're going to sing a little song. This is from Srila Narottam Das Thakur's Prem Bhakti Chandrika. Very useful book. Gorkishore Babaji was once asked the question, how can you get Krishna Prem? And Gorkishore Babaji said, that's very easy. Very easy. You just take a few paisa and you go to the market and buy a copy of Prem Bhakti Chandrika. And you read that book every day. As one sadhu once said in Navadvip, in one put, in one katha, that all the Bengali devotees, every day, all the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should fall down on the ground and offer obeisances to Narottam Das Thakur for what he's done. So yesterday we were speaking about the art and the heart of Vaishnava Sangha, and how Krishna is the heart of that, and Bhakti is the art. But that Bhakti, how does that manifest? How does that come? It comes through Kripa, comes through mercy. But we discussed how, although there's a lot of propaganda, it said that, hey, Krishna Karuna Sindhu, Krishna's an ocean of mercy, but actually according to Jiva Goswami, Krishna doesn't have any mercy. He doesn't give mercy. Because only if you've suffered like some other person can you understand their feelings, and from that compassion can mercy manifest. And there's no question of Krishna suffering. He never suffers. But if I say that Krishna has no mercy, then all the Vaishnavas will become very unhappy. Because we all want the mercy of Krishna. So, Jiva Goswami says it's okay, Krishna has mercy. Krishna Kripa Srimurti. He has oceans and oceans of mercy, but the mercy of Krishna is in the form of his devotees. And if we try to approach Krishna directly and ask for mercy, as my Guru Maharaj commented, we said yesterday, Krishna may say, oh, I don't have any mercy. The ocean's not with me. The ocean of mercy is with my devotee. You have to go there. So if we don't see any devotees, and we spoke a little something yesterday about a misguided friend of mine who said that actually it's very hard to do Vaishnava Aparad, because first you have to find a Vaishnava. And who's really a Vaishnava? It's a dangerous kind of attitude. And I spoke something from Chaitanya Bhagavat, how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Ananta Brahmande Jata Sabha Muridas. Everyone in all the unlimited universes is my servant. But the Kanishta Adhikar, the Prakrita Bhakta, we spoke about yesterday, Sabhakta Prakrita Smitaha, the Tad Bhaktesu Chanyeshu. He doesn't give respect to the devotees, but he's very, very on top of Archayame Vaharaye, worshipping the Lord. He's very big about that. He goes for all the kirtans and reading and doing everything. But the devotees, anyway, they're not so important. What's important is Krishna, they say. But Krishna says, no, what's important is the devotees. And Krishna says, Ye me bhakta jana prathaname bhakta sate janaham bhaktanam cha ye bhaktas te me bhakta tanomata. A verse in the Adi Purana where Krishna tells Arjuna that those people who say they're my devotee, they're not my devotee. I don't know who they are. But the devotee of my devotee, that's my real devotee. So if we want to remember Krishna, we were speaking yesterday about how it is sometimes we may be doing so many things. Archanam, Vandanam, Darshan, I've got all the different Navavidi Bhakti ticked off, but still Krishna's not coming to my mind. Why not? If you have a Serbian summer camp and you come here by yourself, there's nobody else, but you say this is a Serbian summer camp. And you come by yourself and you sit down here and you do all the kirtans and all the kathas and things. It's not the same without the devotees. It's the devotees who are the life of everything. So we want to understand the mood, especially of the topmost devotees of Vrindavan. And this wonderful song, this couplet from Narottam Das Thakur's Prem Bhakti Chandrika, expresses that nicely. Hari Hai Karmi Gyani Nicha Bhakta Nahari Toya Anurakta Shuddha Bhajani Kurumaya. Karmi Gyani Shuddha Bhajani Kurumaya. Raja Jane Raje Mata Tahi Have Anugata Aise Parama Tattvadan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. So, Narottam Das Thakur gives a very interesting definition of what is Brajabat. He says, Braja Janira Je Mata Sahi Havi Anugata Ese Paramatattvadan. We should follow the Mata. Mata means the opinion, the understanding, the mood of the Brajajanas, the residents of Vrindavan. Tahi Havi Anugata. We want to be Anugatya. We want to be followers of them. Ese Paramatattvadan. This is the topmost wealth. So what is their mood in that bhajan? He's giving some negative injunction. Karmi Gyani Nicha Bhakta Na Habe Toya Anurakta. Na Habe Toya Anurakta. Anurakta, we have the word yukta, similar word to yoga. Means to connect or to be attached to. So here he's saying, Anurakta, don't be attached to the karmis, to the gyanis, or to the micha bhaktas. What is a micha bhakta? Micha bhakta means a pretender, a false devotee. Instead of that, or there's two meanings here. One meaning is instead of, Sudha bhajaneti kuruman. Instead of that, you should do pure bhajan. Another meaning is, if you want to do pure bhajan, this is pure bhajan. Pure bhajan means you're not doing those things. Don't worry about it. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur described in one article, after the disappearance of a great personality, we have many self-appointed reformers. But self-appointed reformers, it doesn't work. We all want to be like Arjuna. Prabhu, we should fight like Arjuna. But Krishna told Arjuna to fight. Krishna told Arjuna, Nimitamattam Bhavasari Sachin, you carry out my Shakti. He gave him that Shakti. I should follow the order of my Guru. Once, my Guru Maharaj gave a lecture in Bhubaneswar. He was speaking about Lord Brahma. And I was thinking during the class, there was no time for questions. And I was thinking, and I had a question. After the class, my Guru Maharaj, who had difficulty walking, he had a stick in one hand, had his hand on someone else's arm, was going down the steps, and he was surrounded by 200 devotees. It was very crowded. And I was walking next to him, carrying his books. And I also had to be careful. I couldn't look at him. I had to look ahead because otherwise I'm going to fall down on somebody. And so I had this question. I said, Guru Maharaj, how do we understand that Lord Brahma is the founder of our Sampradaya, but he had this desire to enjoy with his own daughter? How do we understand that? And I'm not looking at him, I'm just looking ahead. And it was quiet for a moment. And then out of the corner of my eye, I could see a hand. Whap! He slapped me in the face. And he told me, don't find fault. And that was his answer to my question. And I always remember that. That's a very, very important instruction. And this is what Madavananda Thakur is saying here. Now, of course, if you are Arjun, if you're Srila Prabhupada, if you're Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if you're an empowered Shaktidesha avatar, you must expose the rascals. If you're a parent, if you're a temple president, you have some obligation to do something. But it's not that we all should self-appoint ourselves and run around like crazy and try to just absorb our minds in everyone else's faults. It's not going to change the world. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in this article, he says that those self-appointed reformers, it actually doesn't work. Instead, actually, those persons who self-appoint themselves as reformers, they end up becoming the next problem. Guaranteed. Unless you're taking shelter of the only solution, which is Krishna Bhakti, then you're really actually part of the problem. Sometimes people, they say, unless you follow me, unless you make a lot of noise about the Nicha Bhaktas, the false devotees, then you're part of the problem. Because those persons who are quiet, they're part of the problem. We say, you're right. Those quiet persons are part of the problem. But the solution you're suggesting is not actually the solution. The solution is what Srila Prabhupada came to give. The solution is what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. And Chaitanya Charitamrita states that Bhakti will solve all problems. But who has faith in that? We don't have so much faith in that. It's a difficulty. So a question comes, what then is the mood of the Braj Bhaktas towards Nicha Bhaktas? What is the mood of the residents of Vrindavan toward false devotees? This is a very interesting subject we'd like to explore a little bit today. We're going to go on a little bit of a journey through a few different literatures, beginning with the Bhagavatam. And this is from the 18th chapter, text 11. This 18th chapter speaks about Pralambasura. Because actually there are 4 demons who entered Braj, who the Brijbasis thought were devotees. And this is a very interesting thing. Think about this in a contemporary perspective. Because I know there's different scandals and things going on. Scandals change periodically. It's always a new scandal, always a new thing which you have to be part of. And if you're not concerned about the scandal, then you're just a rascal, you're just really out of it. So we have new scandals all the time, also in our society. And one common thing that we hear about a lot of the scandals is that these people did something very bad. First, right? That's a scandal. There was a bad person. And especially the person was a leader, the person was teaching children, the person was a temple president or a GBC or a guru or something. That's a big scandal. They do some bad thing. And the next part of the scandal is, why didn't anybody do something about it? And that's a good question. It's a very reasonable question. And then on one side people say anybody who was there, who kind of saw what was going on, and we're not really sure how much they knew what was going on, but they were around. I saw Ojasvi in a photograph of that rascal. So Ojasvi must have known what was going on because he was in the picture taking prasadam with him, no less. Right? So he must be part of the whole conspiracy. Right? And then we start criticizing, we lose faith in all the leaders. But I suggest there's a much bigger scandal. Much bigger scandal. Why did Mother Yashoda and Rohini allow Putana to come and allow Krishna to suck her breast? That's a much bigger scandal. That's a much bigger conspiracy. How do we understand that? The poet Govinda Das, Duki Govinda Das, who wrote one book, he was a disciple of Shamananda Prabhu. He described, and we're not going to go so much into that, it's a whole other baton, but that Putana, she arrived in Braj, and she was crying. She took the form of a beautiful woman. She took the form of a devotee, and that's a very interesting point also, which maybe we'll touch on a little bit. She took the form of a devotee, and she came there, and she started crying. She said, I'm so unfortunate. My baby died, and my breasts are full of milk, and my breasts are hurting so much, it's causing so much pain. Is there any newborn baby here in this village that I can give my breast milk to? And who are the Brijbhas? Krishna just took birth. Yes. And so they sent her to the house of Mother Yashoda. And Mother Yashoda and Rohini, seeing her, didn't recognize her as a demon and allowed her access to baby Krishna. We may blame some leaders because they didn't recognize this person or that person. But what about Mother Yashoda and Rohini? They know that they're eternal associates of the Lord. How is it that happened? The cowherd boys, they're also very, very wise persons. They know Shastra, they know Krishna, they love Krishna. But when Vatsasura came in the form of a calf, the cowherd boys said, yeah, it's a beautiful little calf, come to take shelter of Krishna. And he welcomed him. When Pralambasura, we'll speak more about Pralambasura today. When Pralambasura arrived, the boys, Krishna addressed him as Bhadra. We'll touch on that in a moment. Yo, Bhadra, means my dear friend. And the cowherd boys thought, oh, this Krishna's friend. There was no background check. They didn't do any psychological analysis. They didn't do any check criminal records or anything to see that he was actually a terrible demon, was coming to kill Krishna. When Shankachuta, who was a bosom buddy of Kamsa, and Kamsa had heard about this beautiful girl in Vrindavan, whose name was Radharani. And Kamsa wanted her for himself. Rupa Goswami describes this in the Lita Madhav. So he sent his good friend Shankachuta. When Shankachuta arrived, Shankachuta used to have a job. He was working for Kubera, the Lord of Wealth. And he stole a very valuable jewel from Kubera. It's a long story. That same jewel later became the Shamantaka jewel. Long story. He stole that jewel and he put it on his head. And he was so effulgent. When he arrived in Vrindavan, Brinda Devi, not just anyone, I mean, it was you or me, maybe you could be forgiven, but Brinda Devi, when she saw him, oh look, it's the sun god. Surya Dev's come to worship Krishna. That's what they thought. So this is Braj Bhajan. They're not worrying about the Karmis, the Gyanis, the Micha Bhaktas. They're just solely absorbed in Krishna. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. That's not very practical, Prabhu. You might even be thinking, look, this is offensive. Because maybe you're suggesting that we should do nothing and just be passive. But it's not, we're not suggesting that whatsoever. We're suggesting we must be proactive, very proactive. And just as a side note, to pacify anyone who's thinking this, if some criminal activity takes place in the society, the Hare Krishnas are not equipped to deal with it. Better you just show zero tolerance and just turn them over to the police. I have a friend, who's a godbrother actually, who did some very, very unspeakable things to two of his daughters. We won't talk about that. And he went to prison for that. Someone poked out one of his eyes in prison when he was there. I was sending him prasadam and books in prison. But we have no tolerance for what he did. But we can still show some mercy and some compassion. Send him prasadam in prison or something. We have to be practical. If we see something going on and you don't say something about it, then you also become an offender to that. But still, accompanied with whatever solution we may have. One solution, what are solutions we may have? We may have a monetary solution. We may have a management solution. We may have a disciplinary solution. We may have an educational solution. These are all different solutions in the material world to solve problems. And we also have all of those within our society, within our community. But accompanied with all of them must always be Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, they're not really going to be effective. It'll just be some external thing, and the criminal, the person who did this bad thing, he won't actually be reformed, he won't be changed, and we won't properly be able to protect against these things happening. So let's look a little further at this story of Pralambasura. First of all, we're going to examine this some from Thakur Bhaktivinoda's Chaitanya Sitsamrita. And he says there, Nama Bhajana Kori Sadaka Pratami Hari Sambandhane Hari Nikata Aharaha A Pratikula Varjana Shakti Pratana Kori Ben. He says that a Nam Bhajan Kori Sadak, someone who's doing Nam Bhajan, they have to call out to the Lord and pray to the Lord to give them power. The Shakti, Varjana Shakti, the power to give up different anarthas, different problems that come in our life. And Bhaktivinoda, as I think it was Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj in his first talk, was mentioning, Bhaktivinoda Thakur presents the different demons of Braj in an allegorical way. He says they represent different obstacles to our Braj Bhajan. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says that if we call out like this, then Krishna will help us. He says, Krishna Jai Shakala Asura Ke Pada Koriyachan Se Shakalera Chaitya Raje Urpatandhura Koribara Abhipraye Hare Nikata Sadainye Krandana Kori Bolile Hari Se Shakala Anartha Ke Dhura Korina. That all these demons that Krishna killed, these all represent Asura Kavat, these all represent different Shei Shakalita Chaitya Raja Utpanadura. They represent different problems, obstacles to the heart. And he says that when the devotee, Nikata Sadainye, when the devotee with great humility, Krangana Koriya, when the devotee begins to cry, then and call out to Krishna, then at that time Krishna removes those problems. The Chaitanya Bhagavat describes a similar thing. You can chant Hare Krishna in response. Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dana. Bhakti Yoga, Krishna Nama Smarana Kandana. Hey, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So, Vrindavan Das Thakur says the same point we're making here. Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga Dana. It's like one of those Hare Krishna book distributors you meet on the street. You got to take a book, you got to take a book, you got to take a book. Narendra Maharaj told us that once, as a devotee, initiated devotee, he'd gone to Chicago, and he was dressed in Western clothes when he arrived. And he met a devotee in the airport. He was an old friend of mine, actually. And he said, hey, you got to take this book. And Narendra Maharaj says, I'm a devotee. He said, so? You got to take the book. You should take a whole set of books. He said, I already got the books, so take another set of books. What's wrong with you? So, That's the way Hare Krishna devotees are, right? So Vrindavan Thakur was saying, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga Dana. Hey! What are you worried about? Why are you so worried about making money? Huh? He's very worried. How am I going to get money? I have bills, I have debt, I have this and that. Huh? But Vrindavan Thakur says, like that Hare Krishna devotee on the street, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti's the real wealth. Bhakti's the real wealth. He said, okay, all right. Leave me alone, right? What is Bhakti? Bhakti a Krishna Nama. Bhakti is Krishna's name. But Smarana Prandana. We're speaking today in this retreat about Smarana, about remembrance of Krishna. It's not enough just to chant Krishna's name, but we have to remember Krishna when we're chanting. And Prandana, we should cry. And that crying, this is the wealth of the Brijbasis. So we're reading from the Bhagavatam, right? I think this is, what was this, 17th chapter of the 10th canto, the story of Pralambasura. This is 18th chapter. Text number 11 says a very interesting thing. Gopa jati pratichana deva gopala rupino. We have that? Yeah. It's 1, 10, 18, 11. I forgot. What did you say? Thank you. 10, 18, 11. Gopa jati pratichana. Chana means something false. The same word, micha, cha. A false devotee. This is patichana, means someone is disguised. Someone is coming and disguising himself as a cowherd boy. Deva Gopala Rupino. It's the demigods. We can go down to the synonyms. That the devatas, Deva Gopala Rupino, the devatas, they were assuming the form Rupino of the cowherd boys. Idare Krishna Rama Ocho, and they were worshipping Krishna and Bala, Nata Eva Natam Nripa. Like they were dancers. They were putting on this disguise. So, this is a very interesting point. On one hand, what does Putana, Vasasura, Pralambasura, and Shampachuta all have in common? They looked like devotees, but they weren't devotees. Right? Micha bhaktas, false devotees. So, one thing they all have in common, they're all dressing like devotees. Now, interesting thing, in the, I think it's the 11th chapter of the 10th canto, Lord Brahma, he prays to Krishna, and he mentions there how, Bakasura and Agasura, how they got liberation. Did you ever wonder, what did Agasura and Bakasura do to get so much mercy from Krishna? They had one good qualification. What was their qualification? It was their little sister. Her name was Putana. Now, what did Putana do that was so good? And there's many different commentaries on this section. And it's a very interesting point they made, that Putana did one good thing. She dressed like a devotee. And why is it that Putana got service as a datri? Datri means a nurse in Braj. Whereas her brothers, they got liberation because they were related to Putana. But why is it they got Sayuja Mukti? They merged with the Lord, but Putana got service. Why? Because Putana was dressed like a devotee. So that's kind of relevant for all of us, isn't it? Prabhupada, I heard once told the devotees in Australia, he said, don't think that you're devotees. Don't think you're Vaishnavas. It's like Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj has been speaking about drama. And Prabhupada said at that time, he said that you're just like actors on the stage, pretending to be devotees. But there's some benefit. When you pretend to be something, then you get in the mood of that personality. So Putana, she dressed like a devotee. And everybody thought that she was really a devotee. And because of that, they accepted her. So there's a lot to be said about dressing like a devotee. Now I know, what is the $64,000 question? Was she wearing Punjabi pants? Was she wearing a sari? Was she, what kind of devotee? It doesn't say. And I don't want to comment on that. Maybe she was only wearing tilak and kuntimala, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says is the essential form of Vaishnava dress. Personally, sometimes devotees ask me, why do you wear this Vaishnava dress? I wear it because my Guru Maharaj likes. But there's another reason I like it very much. I spend a lot of time in Vrindavan, in the villages. I spend a lot of time in Orissa, in the villages. And I've met so many traditional Vaishnavas there. And I have some love for them. We should love the Brijbasis. Guru Goste Gostali Sujani Bhusadavani. In the beginning of his Manasiksha, Raghunath Das Goswami, he says, Guru Goste Gostali. So he said, we should worship Gurudev and we should worship the Brijbasis. So I like dressing, I guess, because it reminds me of the Brijbasis, because they're my heroes in their mood of worshiping Krishna. And I like to see devotees dressed because it reminds me of Vrindavan. And I feel very, very happy. You know. Is it actually the traditional dressing? I don't know. That's all. I'm not interested in all those quarrels and things. I don't want to be too busy. We want to do bhajan. Sudha bhajaneti koruman. Do pure bhajan. Don't waste your time karmi gyani, mitra bhakta. Don't waste your time thinking about all these false devotees and the karmis and the gyanis and the this thing and the that thing. If you simply do pure bhajan, everything will be taken care of. So it's interesting, you note in this verse in the Bhagavatam, the demigods were dressing up like cowherd boys. So we said something about Putana, why Putana got liberation of Adatri. And Vatsasura was dressed as a cow, and Krishna, he loves the cows. And Pralambasura came as a cowherd boy. When he arrived as a cowherd boy, Jiva Goswami in Gopal Champu says that Krishna, the boy, nobody knew who he was, right? He's a strange guy just walking into the assembly. Some strange person just walks into an intimate assembly. You're a little taken aback. Is the person okay or not? And Krishna, who's the head of the assembly, said, Yo, Bhadra, my friend. And then he was okay with everybody. Well, why did Krishna say, Yo, Bhadra? I really struck me. So I did a little research looking through the Sanskrit dictionary. And I found the word Bhadra has a number of different meanings. Bhadra is a form of auspicious welcome. Yo, Bhadra. Huh? But Bhadra has other meanings also. Bhadra also means an actor. So Krishna's saying something, double talk. He's saying, Yo, Bhadra, so auspicious to see, but really saying, you're just an actor. I understand. But Pralambasura, that, he's welcomed me. It's good. Everybody, I'm welcome here in this place. But Krishna recognized me, knew who he was. And Bhadra also is a kind of Buddhist god. Buddhism meaning, in this sense to me, the sense of Bhaktivinoda Thakur presents the story, that Pralambasura represents someone presenting himself as something that they're not. And Krishna immediately recognized him. And it's very interesting, according to Jiva Goswami and our acharyas, none of the boys recognized him. And they had this tug of war, and Pralambasura was on Krishna's side. Is that right? Yeah, Krishna's side. And Krishna and Pralambasura, they lost. And Krishna had to take Stoka Krishna, someone on his shoulders. And Pralambasura had to take Balaram on his shoulders. And when Pralambasura took Balaram on his shoulders, he thought, this guy seems a little dangerous. Let me take him some distance away and I'll kill him. And Jiva Goswami says that Balaram didn't recognize Pralambasur. He didn't recognize that he was a demon. And Balaram, he weighs a lot. Balaram is Adi Guru. The word guru in Sanskrit, one of the primary meanings of it is heavy. Guru is heavy. And Balaram is the most heavy. So Pralambasur kind of started getting tired, so he manifested his real form. And Jiva Goswami says that at that time, Balaram became confused. He's Balaram. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he became, this is Krishna's friend. Krishna addressed him, Yo Bhadra. How is this? And then Krishna had to kind of like give him a signal. Something, whatever it was. And Balaram gave him an attitude adjustment to Pralambasur and crushed his pride. So what is it that we asked this first question, what is it that all these demons have in common? They were all disguised as devotees. Now, what is it that all of these incidents have in common with the Brijbasis? They accepted them as devotees. What do we understand from that? There's a very, very valuable lesson behind this. The Brijbasis are simple. And if someone comes, even the person may be a demon, and it's kind of practical for us because that happens kind of a lot, right? A lot of people come to the Society of Devotees. I remember when I first joined, I was in the temple for like 2 or 3 days, and they said, hey, new Bhakta, you should go help in the cookie factory. Okay, I like that, cookies. Huh? And there's lots of nice prasada cookies. And there was one devotee who was in charge, and he was my authority, and he was a very advanced devotee. And it was after about a week I was very shocked that one day he just disappeared and took all the money with him. So it happens to our society. Sometimes people come for the wrong reason. Once we were, I can't say the name of the country, but it's an Islamic country. We were giving class in one country where Krishna consciousness is kind of sort of legal. They allow one temple. They don't allow books. They allow books. Prabhupada's books are legal, but only in the temple. And periodically, the police do raids on devotees' homes. And if they find Prabhupada's books in the home, they confiscate the books, they may put the person in jail. It's quite a heavy place. And so we were there giving some classes, and someone told me, said, you know, the police, the government, they're sending spies. Now we've been going there, I think, for 3 years in a row or something like that. And somehow they allowed us in the country. We wear Western clothes when we were in the country. And so that particular Sunday feast lecture is the last talk I was giving. And I gave a talk about spies. I said, we like spies. Spies are cool. Right? And I told a bunch of different spy stories with devotees. You've probably heard some. How during the Soviet Union time, some KGB people dressed up like Hare Krishnas to come and infiltrate them. And some of them even got initiated. And after a year or two, they kind of came to the Guru Maharaj and said, Gurudev, I have something I've got to tell you. And you don't really know, because in that kind of business, you can't really quit your job, right? So you don't really know where that person's at or not. A similar thing happened in Hawaii during the Vietnam War. The FBI sent a spy to the temple because so many people were joining the Hare Krishna movement to get out of going to the war. And so they sent this guy to see what's going on. And he went to the Sunday program or something and like danced to the kirtan, you know, and sing along. And he sat down to take prasad, and some devotee sat next to him. And he said, yeah, I like this. This is really good, you know. And how do you join? The devotee said, well, no problem. Shave your head and move into the temple. Yeah, I'd like that. And so they shaved him up and put him in the bhakta program. And he was in the temple for like a week. And after a week, in the middle of the night, he went out through a window or something and went back to the FBI to make his report. And when he made his report, he said, these guys are worse than the Army. These guys are crazy. So in the Army, you don't have to get up until 5 o'clock. They wake you up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And you can't take a warm shower. Nowadays, we all take warm showers. I know, it's okay. But in those days, everybody took cold showers. You can't take a hot shower. You can't smoke cigarettes. You can't watch television. No hamburgers. No girlfriends. No TV. It's worse than the Army. He spoke like that. So I gave this class in this Islamic country, speaking about spies. And I said, we like spies. Send more spies. We're happy with spies because we just want to share Krishna consciousness. We don't care if you're a spy or not a spy. Anybody who's here, take a book. We're happy. Chant Hare Krishna is very good. We're happy with that. Something happened. The next year when we went to go back to the country, they wouldn't let us in the country. It happens like that sometimes. So we don't really know who's a devotee, who's a demon. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has even written a song about it. Okay? This is from Kalina Kalpataru. And I'll sing in Bengali. You can chant Hare Krishna. Ekono je Brahma Kule Chaitanyara Adi Take Jani Chaitanyara Lila Krishna Hari Hare Krishna. This is a very amazing. The word Adi in Bengali means enemy. He says, Ekonoi je Brahmakule Chaitanya Adi. There was all these Brahmins during Gora Lila who were big demons. And they hated Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and they caused so many. But he says here, Taki Jani Chaitanya Lila Pushtikari. I know actually they were doing service. Lila Pushtikari. He says they were nourishing the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Bhaktivinoda says, Shri Chaitanya Anucha Satvita Jata Shakadeva Shri Charani Hari Ayanata Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. He says, I offer my obeisances. Shri Chaitanya Anucha Shatru Mitra Jata. I offer my obeisances to those enemies of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I offer my obeisances to the friends of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I offer my obeisances to the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shakalera, all of them. Shri Chaitanya Hoi Lama Nata. I bow down to their feet and I pray to them. Tumara karo kripa ekashara pati Chaitanya chakura karo kino viramati Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 He prays to them. Tumara karo kripa. Please, he's praying to the demons in Gora Lila. Please give me your mercy. Kripa edasera prati. Please make me into a servant of the Lord. And Bhaktivinoda says, Chaitanya Sudhira Koro Binodera Mati. Bhaktivinoda is praying to the demons also. He says, please make my heart devoted to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, that sounds very nice, right? But not very practical, does it? And what if I told you, let's just be really honest, right? Okay? What if I told you, I know about a temple president in our society who's stealing money from the hundi, from the deity box? Honestly. Raise your hand, how many of you could give respect to that person? I see one hand. That's nice. He's very gentle. Okay. Two. Okay. He's got two persons on his side. Now, what if I told you that not only was he stealing money, but he was having relations, illicit relations with someone else's wife? He's married, but he's having relations with someone else's wife. Could you be respectful to him? Okay, he's staying with it. All right. Now, what if I told you it wasn't just one lady, but there's like 8 or 10 different ladies? He's like quite a popular personality, you know. Could you give respect to him? Now, what if I told you, aside from that, that sometimes he was beating devotees? And what if I told you, aside from that, it's really a terrible thing, sometimes he was killing cows? And what if I told you, aside from that, sometimes he was killing devotees? And what if I told you, sometimes he was breaking temples and breaking the deities? Could you give respect to him? Nobody's raising their hand now.
Can I have a question?
Okay, we're going to, you'll understand something. Now, what if I told you that all those activities were part of their service to the Lord, and they're actually eternal associates of the Lord named Jai or Vijay? As in Hiranyakashipu or Hiranyaksha. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, Bhagavatam 7.133, Sishupal and Dantavakra were not ordinary demons, but were formerly personal associates of Lord Vishnu. They apparently fell to this material world, but actually they came to assist the Supreme Personality of Godhead by nourishing his pastimes within this world. So this brings us to our main point today. There's a saying in Bengali, it's from Jagadananda Pandit, Mahaprabhu's associate, that Vaishnava, there's a saying in Chaitanya Charitamrita Simha, Vaishnava Priya Mudra Vignana Bhujaya, that who can understand a Vaishnava? And Jagadananda Pandit says, the Deva Vaishnava Sakati, even the demigods, don't have the ability to see who's a Vaishnava and who's not. Now, of course, the Brijbasis, they can see. Gurudev can see. He's a seer. But why are they not seeing? Why is Mother Yashoda and Mohini not recognizing Putana? Why the cowherd boys don't recognize Vatsasura and Pralambasura? Why Brinda Devi doesn't recognize Shankachura? Because their mind is on something else. They're not thinking about being a border guard and checking passports and looking at people's police backgrounds. They're just thinking of Krishna. They're taking shelter of Krishna. Actually, in all of Braj, no one recognized Putana except a little baby. And we want to take shelter of that baby. But sometimes it doesn't seem very practical to take shelter of a baby. And we know we should do something more practical. We need some management solutions, financial solutions, punishment solutions, education solutions, different solutions. We need those practicals. But those should also be there. But we take shelter of that baby. We take shelter of Krishna. And Krishna will make everything okay. Krishna will protect everyone. My Guru Maharaj once, some devotee came to see him. A devotee, actually one of his godbrothers. And he was trying to cheat him for some money or something. And my Guru Maharaj later commented to me, he thinks I'm simple, that I don't recognize him. And so he's trying to take advantage of me. But he told us many times, he said, if you're just simple and you take shelter of Krishna, then Krishna will guide you. Krishna will make everything clear. So our point today is that we should respect all the devotees, because we don't know who they are. It might be Jai and Vijay, eternal associates of Lord. That doesn't mean you want to put it in charge of the Gurukula. It doesn't mean you want to eat the remnants off their plate or go to their class or something. But we respect all devotees. Maybe from a distance, maybe we just send them some prasadam when they're in prison or something. But we should respect all devotees. And we don't know who's a devotee and who's not. I want to tell you two short stories. Okay? there was one devotee, a friend of mine, and young man, he was a hippie in San Francisco, and someone told him, he was taking LSD and things, and someone said, actually it was, what's his name, the beatnik poet, Allen Ginsberg. Allen Ginsberg said, when you're coming down from LSD, you should go to the Hare Krishna temple. It's really good for that. So he was taking that advice, and he started going to the Hare Krishna temple, and damn, they had good food. It was really nice, and the kirtan was nice too, and he started going regularly. And after a day or two, one of the young ladies came in and said, would you like to do some service? And he thought, service, that sounds cool. Yeah, I'd like to do seva. Huh? And what can I do? And they pointed to this guy, and he was a little confused because it wasn't him. He said, you go help him. But he wasn't the devotee. It was just some guy in some really old, ratty, dirty jeans and old, dirty clothes. Okay. And he went to that guy, and the guy said, I'm the garbage man here. You can help me take care of the garbage. They were feeding thousands of hippies a week, and they had huge amounts of old, rotten, leftover vegetables and things. And so they had a big truck. They filled up the truck. They went to the dump. They got rid of everything, and they came back. He spent the whole day with the garbage man. And it blew his mind. Because that garbage man was the happiest person he ever met in his life. And just all day long, he was just talking about Krishna, and he was so ecstatic. And this hippie thought, damn, that's the garbage man. If the garbage man is that happy, I want to become a devotee. And so he became a devotee. He got initiated. His name was Vatsal Prabhu. He was my first temple president in Los Angeles. And the garbage man, his name was Jayananda. He was a temple president. They didn't recognize him. I'll tell you another short story, also a true story. There was one young man who was studying under Hanumat Prasad Podar. I don't know, probably you're not from India. Anybody in India knows Hanumat Prasad Podar, Gita Press. They're very, very famous. And he's a Vaishnava of some kind. So he was studying under him, and one day this young man got a copy somewhere of a Hindi translation of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he started reading, wow, Lord, this is really far out stuff. So he went to his guru, Hanumat Prasad Podar, and said, can you tell me about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And Hanumat Prasad Podar said, no, I'm sorry, that's not my thing. I don't know about Chaitanya. He said, but I have a friend who's coming here soon to, what's the name of the city of town? Gorakhpur. Thank you. He said that. Literary person said to Gorakhpur. He's coming to Gorakhpur. A friend of mine, his name is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Wow. And he knows about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Wow. You should go and ask him. So the young man, that's cool. He was waiting. Prabhupada came with a number of Western disciples. And this young man went to meet Prabhupada at the guest house. When he went there, though, he was very disappointed to find that Prabhupada was gone. He'd gone for a walk or something. All the devotees went with him. And nobody was there. There was some old man, old Indian man, sitting by himself in the room. And so the young man asked the old man, I said, I'm trying to find Prabhupada. And the old man said, what do you want with him for? In kind of a rude way. And the young man said, well, I want to ask him about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, what do you want to know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And the young man said, well, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the old man said, that's nonsense. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a devotee. And by this time the young man really got annoyed, and he started arguing with the old man. No, that's not true. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, and this, and why are you being so bad with me, and chastising the old man. All of a sudden, a Western devotee came in the room and offered obeisances to the old man. And the young man realized, It was Srila Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada started laughing. And Prabhupada told the devotees, he was arguing with me. He was chastising me. Prabhupada liked it. He didn't recognize Srila Prabhupada. That young man later took initiation, became a good friend of my Guru Maharaj, disciple Srila Prabhupada. His name is Radha Govinda Maharaj.
Wow.
Special Vaishnava. So Vaishnava Chiniti Nai Devata Shakati. Even the demigods can't recognize who's a Vaishnava. So then the question comes, if we want to have the art and heart of Vaishnava Sangha, and we want to practice bhakti together, there's these Micha Bhaktas. Narottam Das Thakur says, don't worry about them. These Micha Bhaktas are going to be coming, but how do we deal with them? So, the answer is we should simply give respect to everyone. And Krishna promises in Bhagavad Gita, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, that He'll give us intelligence to understand what should be done, what shouldn't be done, who should be driven out, who should be chastised, who should be given a position. Krishna will give us intelligence, and everything will be okay. We don't have to worry about it. So I think our time is over. We have about 5 more minutes. And so I'd like to just take this 5 minutes, following the mood of Satchidananda Maharaj, because, see, Prabhupada had a system. I don't know of any kirtan melas, with all respect to kirtan mela. I love kirtan mela. But Prabhupada's system was like a sandwich, a Hare Krishna sandwich. There was kirtan, then there was katha, and then there was kirtan again. The first kirtan, to use a New Age expression, opens up your chakras, prabhu. And Chaito Darpana Marjana, it purifies my consciousness so that you get a little bit of a brain, so you can hear something. And then in the katha, you hear something, and then you know what to put in your heart. And you do kirtan again at the end. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare I want to highly recommend that devotees to please stay for Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj's talk. We spoke something about drama, Maharaj, and how in Braj, Putana, Vatsasura, Columbusura, and Shankachuta were all acting like devotees. They weren't. So Maharaj is speaking something about drama. So,